Good afternoon. Here we are today again on a Thursday to discuss with you one more interesting topic in the area and the field of design and art. So, this series has been brought to you by Discover Design, sponsored by JS Institute of Design. And let me explain what Discover Design is. It's a series of webinar to help understand what design means in the domain of space. We bring to you various experts in the domain of interior design. They may be designers, they may be people who implement the design, and there are people whom we have brought in to explain to us other elements which make up and richen our space, such as an interior. Today we have with us Mr. Neeraj Gupta, who's going to talk on art is a craft of expression. It's going to, I really want to explain, I want to introduce Neeraj with all the kind of work he's done. A lot of his work was seen by me earlier and it intrigued me. I believe art has to intrigue all of us. And I decided to bring him in here today to talk about what he does, how he plans his artwork. What does he have in mind when he's working on a piece of art? So that's Neeraj Gupta, president of Delhi Art Society. And of course, he has huge credentials of the kind of various kinds of work, especially in the field of sculpture. And he's done a lot of work with wood, metal, other material as well. I would love to invite you, Neeraj, to share with us and our participants
Thank
your
you.
journey in
Thank
art
you.
and how you started working on various art pieces. But before that, quickly, I would like to inform the participants that if you have any questions, please go ahead and put it in the question answer box, and we will take up all the questions at the end of the session. So, welcome once again, and Neeraj, please help us understand how did you begin this journey, and tell us about all that you have done.
Thank you, Nian. Good afternoon, everybody. And the friends, as I have been asked, through this webinar, I will try to correlate my art journey with the important topics related to various aspects of art. Probably, that will help the young students who are in design and interiors understand the importance of art in the space designing. Though my artworks and the art titles I'll be talking of may not be exactly correlating because the works may be from different series of works, but still I will try to give the important message and what is important. I'll try to convey through my those works. So the obvious subject to start with is what is art, because this is something which has been going on in the various people's mind, and I would just like to start with this important topic, what is art, and then we'll go on to proceed to how art is different from craft and so on, because not many people understand what is art, what is craft, what is the importance of these two. They have their own importance in their own fields, but since we are talking of art, we must start with what is art next. Next. So, friends, I had just introduced my first work of art here. So, a lot of things have been written here, but I'll try to explain it through my work of art. So, art is the communication between the artist and the onlooker. The conversation created by the artist makes his art meaningful for the human beings, of course, his whatever he has made this for particular segment. One thing important here is that the art forms should be suggestive only, that I will explain later on how art is different from craft, and it should be capable of multiple interpretations by different viewers. That is why you will see most of the artworks untitled, so that the viewer can have his or her own imagination of what it is looking at him. But art has an aesthetic value, and it has been rightly said, art is a craft, but it is not just any kind of craft. It's a craft of expression that I will explain in my subsequent topics. And it can take many forms depending on the chosen medium. So when you look at this work, you may have your own interpretations. It, I mean, you can simply call it a colored wheel. But when you go deeper into it, the circles which you are looking at it have the have symbolic significance related to mysteries of cosmos. And this is what I mean to say, that what art means to the person who has created it, and it may be having different meanings to the people who are looking at it. And the juxtaposition of highly saturated and vibrant colors enhance the aesthetic value.
Mhm.
And so we have an artwork which has a message and an aesthetic value. That's what I said. What is art? But it is, to me, you can have your own interpretations of this work. So the most important thing is that art should be engaging. When the person looks at the work of art, he should feel like, yes, I must see it. That is the first aspect. It should have aesthetic value, and it should look good so that the person engages with the work of art. And then he should have his or her own interpretation. That I'll explain how in the next.
So, before we move on, may I ask you, Neeraj, you have made a very interesting statement, and it says art is a representation of beauty, truth, and perfection, and that you have attributed it to the truth and perfection by God and His creation, its creation, I would think. So, would you say art has certain form of perfection? Is it man-made perfection, or is it a perfection beyond measurement? If you
Yeah,
could.
that I will, Neon, I will answer after, this, how art is different from craft. Probably then I'll be able to answer you better.
Sure.
So, this is what Neon was asking, and this is very interesting. When you see this artwork, as I said, while art is way of expressing emotions, craft is a work that results in tangible output. That is a very basic difference. I can, explain this with, very, very simple thing. The first conceived image of Ganesha, we all worship God Ganesha. So we actually don't know it. I mean, is our God like this only? So it is an artist's creation. So the very first person who conceived the Ganesha in the form we see it today, the first person who did it, was a work of art. And then later on it just got getting replicated into tangible output. That's what I say, it becomes craft. Second, art is often described as uh, unstructured, open-ended. It has no boundaries, and craft is generally structured, which means it has a certain visible form. That I'll also explain later on. So it is easy to replicate craft, while art cannot be replicated. That is another major difference, because you see various kinds of crafts in the market in INA, Delhi Heart, and you can order as many pieces as you want, but you don't have the replicas of original art. Replica will be replica. It cannot be same as original art. Whereas the craft attracts the viewers, art moves them emotionally. That is a very fundamental difference. art gets into you and it moves you emotionally. Art is, that is what answers Neon's question also. Art is a result of individuals' innate talents, whereas a craft skills can be acquired with experiences. Among the two, art is closer to the aesthetics. So that's what I always said, that artist is born,
Mm.
and craft you can learn with the, with the way you want to. You have to just be with the person you want to learn the thing, and you can learn the craft. But that is always said that artist is born, art is inside. Usually, a craftsman has an idea what he or she actually wants to create, but art is a flow of emotions. So that I will explain. Whatever I have said, I'll explain with my work of art, which you can see on the screen. So this is, this is an image. This is an installation, sculptural installation, wherein you can see a wooden piece at the wall hanging, and then there's a flow of kumbs, uh, lota, and these are all utensils. So the very first person who looked at this work, he said, "Oh, to me it looks evolution of civilization from the womb of a mother." That was his or her interpretation. Then another one said, "No, no, 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 no. To me, it is Ganges flowing out of the Gomukh." That is another person's interpretation of this sculptural installation. The third one said, "No, no, no. To me, it looks like termites are running away after eating, the wooden part of a tree, and they are just running out." That was his way of, understanding how this work of art had impact on him. And another person said, "To me, it looks like artist's beard in a, sculptural installation form." That, and then for the other, it depicts the climate change with the guts, and the glaciers are getting, retreated. So to him, this empty combs signified the the climate change, how our glaciers are retreating, because this is what he felt out of this. So anyway, there can be, that's what I said, that an art form should provoke interest. The viewer should look at it, should engage with it, and should have his or her own interpretation of the work which uh, which he is looking at it. So, Neon, is this explanation answer your question or not?
Yes, very much. And I have many, many questions, but I'm going to allow you to please explain further as we go on. There are many more questions lined up. As
Absolutely. Next, please. Next.
next, please.
So, how a dazzling contemporary art invoke a thought process? So, uh, as I said, many of the students of this institute study interiors. So I thought that I must elaborate on some topics related to importance of art in interiors and space designing. So, I mean, this is how this contemporary art started in late 20th century or in the beginning of 21st century. There are so many art movements which are, involved into all this. But the important thing is that how this contemporary artwork should invoke a thought process, like in this work which you look at it, and that is important when a person, when an interior designer is designing a space, he or she has certain idea about what he or she wants to do. And of course, if he or she has to have a work of art, then They must understand that for the person with whom they are designing the interiors should have a work of art which invokes a thought process in that person. Only then he would like to, have that piece of work here or there. So the work you are seeing here, this was basically uh, done for the interiors of city urban development of government of India. They because they are now focusing on smart cities and all those related things. They wanted to, have their office interiors. So accordingly, and they wanted to have a work of contemporary art which evokes similar kinds of feelings. And when you look at this work, though I thought it might give a look of a smart city when you go from the when you see a city from the top. You just see the various visual points. It just gives a feeling. But I mean, smart means they're all orderly. They are all well managed. They're all well regulated. But every viewer can have his or her own interpretation, and someone may say that to him or her it may look like a maze, you understand, bhool bhulaiya, and so on. So that is what is important, that you might be intending to convey a particular message through an artwork, but it is always there that artwork may invoke a thought process which may be different from what it has been intended to uh, convey. But that we'll talk more on that later on. Next. Yeah, I will explain you a little bit more. This is very interesting work of art, which was bought quite a time back by a couple who were expecting their child. So I always said, like earlier also, very important from interior point of view, contemporary art speaks emotions, and how to understand contemporary art. It's very important from the point of view of interior designers and the people who are designing the space. So when you look at this work, what it what it conveys to you, of course, I had this in my mind, and you can very well relate this work to the story of Adam and Eve and the story of forbidden fruit, and they ate it. Humanity started. That's all. I mean, you all know the story of Adam and Eve. They were not. They were just there that the God had certain plan not to have this humanity going further, because he was anticipating that uh, all the bad things will come, and all we all know the story of Adam and Eve. There was a fruit, there was a snake on that fruit. Adam and Eve were uh, advised not to eat that forbidden fruit,
Yes.
but I mean the destiny was something else. They saw a very small snake, purple color snake. That is why I added this purple color to this work. They saw and this red depicts that apple. That was probably an apple. On that apple, that purple color snake was, it was encircled on that apple. And the Adam was attracted towards that fruit too much. So, despite being asked not to eat that fruit, they both of them ate that fruit, and both of them then uh, you know, got into relationship, and this they had their first child, and this is how the humanity started. So again, I mean, the person viewer can have his or her, interpretation of this work. But contemporary art speaks emotions, that is number one. And how to understand contemporary art, this is important, another important. Next. So, the next topic which I would like to dwell upon is something of public art, because the designing of space is not important from interior point of view, it's from exterior point of view as well. And as I'm saying, that contemporary art reflects the life around. How? I'll try and explain through my this work of art. The artists of modern era create modern artworks which reflect on social issues, relationships, and life around us. So there are, various things, seven essential elements, and so on, so on. That's the, theory part of it. But this artwork of mine, which is installed in the central lawns of New Delhi Municipal Council opposite Jantar Mantar, and is titled Resurgence. So, I mean, it was a big competition. The reason was they wanted to have and increase the aesthetic value. It was a huge lawn in front of one of the most important, building complexes of Lutyens zone, and they wanted to convey a message also. There was two things. One thing, it should increase the aesthetics value of the whole complex. It has, three buildings left, that important Y-shaped building, and you are seeing the convention center at the back. And the second was that it should convey, it should be an abstract art, because artworks at public places should be secular only. That is another term which will be I mean, that don't know what is that, but it should convey a message which is important from Delhi's point of view. So, and that is important also because, why I'm saying so, artworks at public places are very important from Delhi's point of view. Delhi has so much of migrant population, and the people who have come from, all over India, from different cities, from far off places. So how do they connect themselves to this place called Delhi? And who is Deliwala? That is another term. But these artworks at public places are the magnets, they can be magnets. They are the pieces which they can connect, and they can say, I mean, when you connect to a particular artwork, then you get connected to the space also. So they can say, yes, that is, I am connected to that artwork, and I mean, I am connected to Delhi. That is one of the most important thing related to works of art at public places. So the message, it's titled Resurgence. So Resurgence Delhi, of course, we have seen grown into such a vibrant city over a period of time, and resurgence meant it represents the relentless spiral energy of the residents of Delhi. So those who have, worked uh, so much to make Delhi like this. So that what it meant, resurgence. Next.
Can I ask you something, Neeraj?
Yeah, please.
Since now you are out in the, you have reached a point where you are where you are presenting an art for public space. Would you do it differently if it was a installation for a public space versus something that you may be designing for an interior space? Would you?
Please say that again.
So if you were to design an art installation for a public space, which I assume
Hmm.
would be outside and would have some other thought process behind it, would it be different from what you would create for an interior space?
Oh, yes, definitely. I would dwell upon that also because I have done some works like that also, and I would be telling you that. I
Okay.
would be telling you that later on because I mean that is also in my presentation about one of the works on the central atrium of DRDO headquarter. So what was the and what they wanted, how I did it. I will answer that question there. So again, from external to the interior space, how does contemporary art evoke your thought process?
Mm-hmm.
So, if you can understand contemporary art, it does not mean that you can exactly figure out the concept of modern art. I mean, as you can see, every artwork is about colors and shapes, but it may not be always giving you I mean, the meaning which, same intention or the idea. So, no two persons will get the same notions when they stare at the same work of art, and such is the magic of art. This is only art which can create this magic that no two persons will get the same notions. That's what I'm saying. When you're having a group of people, they should all interpret it in different way. Supposing if I am telling you something about a work of art, your thought, your mind gets directed into a direction which I am telling you. That may be or may not be what you are feeling out of that artwork. That is the magic of the artwork. So in the artwork which you're looking at here, which has been titled as Puzzle of Life by the art critics, maybe you can visualize it about the truths of life. You can interpret it in many ways, like you can see two bridges that understand the various cycles of lives, deaths. So again, you can interpret it in different phases of life, and then at the time of aging and so on. This can be interpretation of one person. The other person may call it the colored landscape, or when you see valley of flowers from the top, you just see the different different colors in a particular pattern blooming. So maybe you just get the feeling of colored landscape. So I mean, this is how or and again, when from interior and the space design point of view, this is important, that what you want out of where you would put the work of art, what you want that work of art to do at that place,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of emotions that artwork should evoke. That is important from interior's point of view. Next.
Okay. Okay. This is interesting. Figurative art is your next topic. Okay, next, please.
Next. So again, these days, a lot of emphasis has come on figurative art.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, why to love figurative art from interior perspective and the space design perspective. Previously, the figurative art was assigned more with the craft, but now the things have come. Figurative art is an art wherein the artistic expression takes its inspiration from the real life objects and instances, also known as representational art.
Okay.
Figurative art is a creative take on everyday things and scenario. It is something that marries the abstract and the realistic gracefully. Figurative art is a great home decor option for you to consider. So that's important for interior point of view. So, but in this work of art which you are looking at, and it was done long back in the very initial stages, So that was my reaction to when I saw a lady working into her late pregnancy and already having children, despite she was doing such a strenuous work on the construction site. So that's what I said that figurative art is is a great home decor option for you to consider from the interiors perspective. Next, again, I'll tell you what else it adds to you.
Right.
Figurative art can add sophistication to your account, your casa, current account,
Mm-hmm.
saving account. So
Really?
whole kinds of your things. And minimalism is what you see. Figurative arts, which is being done by artists these days, mostly minimal. So minimalism is what you see is only what you see, and art should have its own reality. That we can talk on later on also. But the figurative art is important from the point of view of it can add sophistication, aesthetic appeal, makes ordinary into extraordinary, from mundane to opulence. But the work which you are seeing here is what I had done for Beijing Biennale some time back.
Okay.
And the theme of that Biennale was colorful world and shared future.
Okay.
So we said to those people that we Indians already have in our mythology Vasudev Kutumbakam. That is basically the same theme.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Chinese are switching over to, because there have been so much of criticism on their policies and all that. So they are, having to engage more and more people. They are now moving on to the theme that we have a colorful world and we have a shared future. So, by this work of art, from here to eternity, symbolized the same meaning. That's why it was part of that Beijing Biennale. Next. So that's what I said that the what figurative art can do to the interiors is it can be a statement piece in your home. It can have the touch of modern and rustic,
Mm-hmm.
and they can fit it anywhere into your home. That's how the figurative art is getting a lot of importance in the interior and space designing these days. And that's what this work which you're looking here depicts, the emotions part of it. Because someone may call it mother and child, and the child playing in the lap of a mother. The other one say, no, no, it is Krishna in his mother's womb. So many things can be there, but basic thing is emotions, which is very important when you have a figurative art in your interiors. Next. So again, I tried to do little bit well more on this idea of space designing. So I thought, okay, let's have some wall art ideas where you can think of how to, how the students can think of. So decorating the walls of a home is a very, very important task, and one wrong selection and the positivity and the charm of the whole room, which one would be looking at, will be lost to the wrong selection. So the selection of the artwork for the room is again, if for people you are designing depends on the your family background, taste, preferences. There's so many things I can dwell upon those things also in my next slides. But uh, but in this work, which has been done with pigmented textures, you can see the scenery of natural flowers and plants, promoting the theme of peaceful well-being and coexistence with the nature.
Mhm.
Next. So again, as you think of wall art ideas to define your home, that contemporary portraits, line art, female figure, female symbolizes beauty, affection, completeness. They can all be in contemporary form and representational form, abstract form. There's a number of things you can do, college art, abstract paintings. But I mean, just when I was talking of contemporary portraits, so this sketch of mine is just a simple black line on a plain background and gives a simple yet powerful visualization. So again, you know, this is, I mean, just to think of various things when you are thinking of putting an artwork, for a wall of a home. Next. Again, there can be other, options, creative photography, botanicals, paintings, personalized textures, and so on. There's so many options which you can think of, again, depending on what is the theme of your interior, what is the role of art you want that work to play, and what thought process you want to evoke. Like this work depicts the shapes and figures of geometries formed by, splashes of plants and pigments. So depends what's how you are thinking of a particular wall, and what you want that artwork to do, and as I explained in all the previous slides. Next.
Neeraj, can I ask you to explain to us some of your work which are following then? Because it's really very important for us to understand the thought process which you had when you were making these creations. So we would really love to hear about that.
And definitely in my in my some of the coming works, I would definitely try to dwell upon that.
Right.
And from the interiors perspective, now I go to little deeper into core subject of core aspects of art. So this particular work
Mhm.
which you are seeing on the screen,
Mhm.
it explores the bygone metal territory and uses the old metal utensils.
Mhm.
So I mean, why I did this work. So long time, we used to live in Old Delhi, and there was a big trash market over there, metal trash market. I used to see very interesting objects when they used to sort out those metal trash. I used to see important pots, and very interesting pots, and very interesting art objects, very interesting bells. So over a period of time, I collected all those, and I had an inclination to create works of art which blends all three forms of art. As you
Right.
know, I mean, there are three art forms: visual art, performing art, and literary art. So, I mean, with the various experiments and the various, things over a period of time I collected, I'll first, try to explain you what this work is and why I made it, and the reason. And I mean, because I was successful in doing this, the great institution IGNC acquired it. It's Indira Gandhi National Center for Art. So they understood that, of course, it's a genuine attempt to, do a series of works with old metal utensils. So
Right.
this work explores the bygone metal territory and uses the old metal utensils. So here was an attempt at the beauty of movement expressed in terms of human beauty in dance. IGNC acquired it because it blended the art and craft. Now what you are seeing is a art form.
Mhm.
It's a representation of one of our classical dance forms, but it uses the craft of our ancestors
Right.
who made this utensils and these pots. And you know so you have a work of art, that's a visual art, it's a sculptural installation, it's a visual art. It represents a classical dance form, so it has a blend of performing art and all the engravings on the kalash kumbs. And many of you don't see here. There is a language. There is a engraving, carving on each and every of these. When you see them, closely, so all those engravings have the literary meanings,
Oh,
and many of them had messages also. Some had patterns. The patterns may be, related to our old ancient mythology. That's very different subject altogether. But what I, through this work of art, I was able to blend all three art forms into a single piece of art. So, I mean, this is what, when I say nature of art, is what you want to convey through your artworks.
right.
So, probably, Nian, I am able to explain the.
Yes, yes. But Neeraj, I want to point out to you, we have questions lined up, and there is one of the art pieces. Since I've seen your presentation earlier, there is one about with a cycle and a lot of tiffins with a human form.
That's later on. That's later on.
So I was just wondering whether we want to take questions so that the participants get some of their questions answered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
We can also discuss that last sculpture, which I found extremely intriguing. So can we discuss that, please? And then I'll take the questions for you because they have these are very fundamental questions they're asking, and I do think they want to hear from you what your opinion is on many of these.
Okay.
So can I request you to go to the slide where you have the sculpture with the Stephen. Yes, this has a lot. It is full of some meaning. Would you help us understand what this is? I mean, it's so striking. But we
So that's what I said, that artists can convert day-to-day activity, or day-to-day objects into form of art.
okay.
So someone said it is डब्बा वालाज ऑफ बॉम्बे. बॉम्बे में आप देखते हैं ना, वो डब्बा वाला उसको
Yes.
लेके जाते हैं. I mean, that's what I said. The art has art forms are suggestive only. It can have multiple meanings. So the other person can think of, like one politician had a look at it, oh, and he said, oh, it is just like that we are taking the burden of the whole society with us.
Oh my God.
So,
Do
I
that.
mean, it can be interpreted, it can represent, the hard work of our common man. कि
Yes.
वो बेचारा, I mean, किस तरीके से अपना डे टू डे लाइफ चला रहा है.
Correct.
So that is the reason why art should be studied,
Correct.
because artists. That is the difference between art and craft. Artists can convert day-to-day activity and day-to-day objects into works of art. So,
Right.
what is exactly is the question? Please let me
Right.
answer.
Thank you, Neeraj. This is really, to say this is the burden of a common man just is the right description because that is exactly what we were feeling. And I'm going to now pose some questions to you which have come from the participants. And
So is my presentation over now?
yes, would you like to delve on any one of these other things?
I mean, okay. I mean, I would like to, one more topic I would like to cover. What makes good art? Because that is another thing, which is what makes good art.
Correct, correct.
So please open that slide also, and
Uh,
after that we will take the
yeah,
questions.
sure, sure. What is,
Just go back.
yeah, please.
One thing. Just stop here. Just stop here. Before. Okay, let's take. I mean, explain this also. So that is also, very important from designers' perspective. Also, they always, there is a discussion: what is good art, what is bad art. But I have always said good art uh, can work on many levels and is capable of multiple interpretation. It should evoke interest and it should have multiple interpretations. That is my take on this. But many people say, what constitutes good art? Is it the art which is conceptually unique and well executed? Is it that which is popular, widely consumed, unanimously loved, or is it that which awakens your consciousness, helps us make sense of some experiences, changes our perspective, and so on? Or is it that which is so complicated that its execution is reserved for a dynastic or talented few? Or is it that which displays an expression that is declared great by some upstanding figure in the society, leading others to follow suit in their. But I mean, this is my personal opinion. Art is an expression of human creativity. That's all. There is no art which is greater or lesser than other. Art is art, and every art, the artist who has created it is a good art. So I mean, that's what. Of course, I what why I put this sculpture here is this sculpture is presently in display in British Virginia Islands near Vancouver at their public places in Canada.
Mhm.
And of course, it is capable of multiple interpretations. Their theme was together.
Oh,
So I mean that's why they they are displaying it over there. But some people some people have a feeling of immortal moments,
mm-hmm.
immortal moments, or some may relate it to the geometrical configurations of our mythology and so on. So that's what, when I say good art or bad art, that is very, very ambiguous. Next, one more slide on this, and then we will take questions. Next, please.
Can you change the slides? Yes, thank you.
So this is another interesting work which I have done for public spaces, and this is often described as cross-cultural connections.
Mm-hmm.
And but again, it has multiple interpretations. YMCA is acquiring it because they have the theme of healthy body, mind, and spirit. So they have a feel of, in this work they feel it's a healthy body, mind, and spirit blended into one. And some people think it trinity. Of course, it has three elements joined together. Trinity has a lot of mythological meanings also. And one our intelligence agency was also interested in having acquiring it, because they perceive we have three kinds of intelligence. Human beings have three kinds of intelligence: aptitude, skills, and talents.
Mm-hmm.
So they could see all these three into this work of art. So I mean, what I wanted to explain is that no art is good or bad, but of course, from a person's perspective, or from general point of view, an art which has aesthetic value and which is capable of multiple interpretations can definitely be described as good art. So Neon, please, now I can take questions.
That is really a kind of understanding which we needed to have from you, Neeraj. So I'm going to now quickly take you to some of the questions which have come up. One is that I realized that you have done masters in building science from School of Planning and Architecture, and I do believe that understanding material and using the right appropriate techniques and technology to produce to make your creation must be an important part of your competency as an artist, as a sculptor. So there's a question from Prem who's asking, what are the various materials you specifically like to use in your artwork?
I am one of the artists who has tried to be versatile and who has used marble, wood, and metal in all my, art forms.
Mhm.
So I mean, this wood and marble are specifically difficult because there you have to go for direct carvings, and that's very difficult thing to do. But still, I got into a difficult arena, and in the metal form, I mostly, like I told you about that work of my old utensils.
Mhm.
That particular thing was there right since my childhood when I was collecting all those, old metal balls and combs and kadas, very interesting shapes, very intriguing shapes. So, and of course, I my main theme was to have meaningful works of art at public places in Delhi,
Mhm.
and there are only two things which can be done. One thing is marble, which is you have to have direct carving. The second thing, of course, is the metal casting. That requires all different kinds of skills altogether. So, for my outdoor sculptures, I rely primarily on marbles. And but from I mean, in different phases of my life, I have experimented with wood, and wood also, that is very interesting, that interests you. That's mostly development uprooted trees which I have used in my wooden works. So the first work which I did was when the first phase of metro started. There were a lot of trees, a lot of some of the trees were really very old, and they were on our roads, and wherever I found a good old tree of North Indian rosewood, I tried to acquire it and turned it into a work of art.
Right. I can almost imagine you seeing the art in that unfinished pieces of raw wood or trees as you see that. Shall I move on to the next question?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so Raina has a question about what are people preferring in your experience? Do they prefer something which is modern or more traditional human form kind of work? Is there a way to figure that out?
You know, there are two things. One thing is when you do it from commercial point of view, when you are doing it for a particular series, for a gallery or something, of course you have to do it from what is the demand of that particular series. But more or less, because I have mostly concentrated on artworks at public places. So art forms are modern, but when I say modern or abstract or whatever it is, how long modern will remain modern, that
Correct.
is another another this is another term which is very vague. Modern, I mean, of course there has to be a timeline to everything.
Correct.
So that's what I said. I mean, in my art, I mean, in my earlier talking also, that art forms are art forms, and they should be capable of multiple interpretations. Rest is just, just the words, modern, figurative, and whatnot. They are just the words.
Wonderful. I mean, very well said. And probably you sound really generous about it. But honestly, if an art piece is to be interpreted differently by every viewer who sees it, is that acceptable to the artist or to the sculptor?
Of course, that is the dream of any artist. If you
Wow,
have, that is the dream of any artist. If you have, multiple interpretations of his or her work, that is any artist's dream. The
that's
more the interpretations of that work, I mean, the more successful he has been, evoking the thought process. That is the whole idea of art. That's what I mean differentiates art from the craft. In the craft, you have, when you are looking at, a statue of Ganesha, or something else, you have a fixed notion. You cannot, if you are looking at Ganesha, you cannot say it is Ram or it is something else. It is fixed. You cannot have different meaning. But
correct.
of course, that differentiates, art. It must be capable of multiple interpretations.
I think we are getting clearer as we move on with your explanation, and that's wonderful to know that. So now I'm going to be more confident about my interpretation of an art and not worry too much about whether am I thinking correct as the rest of the people.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's great, Neeraj. Okay, another question. Uh, does your art normally shape up from a client's brief? Could be a client's brief, such as maybe an art theme or an interior client. Um,
Normally, I mean, that is how the artist, grows from his uh, college life to the professional life. But normally, I don't do the commissioned works. Reason being that I am more focused on artworks at public places, and we are really working, to have meaningful works of art at public places in Delhi. And I mean, we find no reason. We had a beautiful work, Gyara Murti of that Gandhiji, you know
right, right.
on that Sardar Patel mark.
Correct.
After that, not many meaningful works of art have come at public places. So,
Oh,
but of course, the question is right that, I mean, when a client engages an artist, he or she has a particular theme or choice, or concept, that he or she wants this, that I what explained in, the ideas for your, wall for your home or for your space designing. And that is mostly artists, do it as per your wish. And it is, but one thing is sure, it is, they have to do it. There's no option. And to,
mhm,
when you pass out of your college,
mhm.
it is very easy, you find a job in, in a school or something as an art teacher, but that does not make you an artist. To
Right.
free to become a freelance artist is really difficult. It's really, really, really difficult. You have to have your own studio. You have to run your family, and you know what is the art scene. So I mean, still many people, because many people thrive and they become artists, but they have no option. If you have a client is asking, he or she is asking for particular subject, particular theme, particular color scheme, of course, you can have it, you can do it, you can, choose from your his or her existing works, or I mean, you can commission the new work.
Right. So while we are at it, while whatever I'm hearing from you really relates to a lot of things that we teach at JS Institute of Design, there we have a whole module on appreciation of art, design, and style, because it becomes a part of. There are very important elements to create the finesse in an interior. So I would like to just ask you to end this, how do you advise young designers to select artworks for their interiors?
That's I dwelled upon when I touched that topic,
Yes,
but
you did. I still want to.
there are many things. There are many things
Yes.
for that. And nowadays, one thing is when I said what is good art, what is bad art. So these days, probably, when the client is higher up, I mean, he's a rich fellow. He goes for the name. He goes for the masters. That no, I want Hussein. I want Raza. I want Tayyab Mehta.
Mhm.
Though he or she may not be relating to, the the art which has been created by these masters, so they may be original or fake, and they had their own time, and the time is gone. So what I want to advise from mm, um, for the designer, for the interior designer, for the space designer, that he or she should understand. Of course, the designer has a particular thought process in mind when he or she is designing a room, a wall, or something, and then that has to match with the person with for whom he or she is designing. So of course there has to be a question answer session. The designer has to understand the needs of the owner, at what he or she wants in terms of everything. And if the person who has engaged the designer, he or she is looking for an artwork, then what the owner wants that artwork to to do at that particular place. Is it someone wants, when I wake up, I should see rich colors, vibrant colors, maybe in abstract forms. That gives me a lot of energy. So of course then you have to go for some abstract forms where there is a rich blend of colors. So
Mm.
others might be having different views. So the the designer first has to understand what the person who has commissioned him or her wants.
Right.
And of course, if he wants an artwork at a particular place and the designer want to put it, then, as I said, artwork should evoke response. It should evoke emotions. that
Absolutely.
is the that is the right choice.
Absolutely. And while at it, I do want to thank you, Neeraj, for really sharing your utmost and sharing with us all the work that you have done over the years. We now understand art, I think, a little bit better, but we'd like to, whatever other questions are left over, we'd love to get those responses as well. We will share the questions with you and we can then forward it to the people who have asked them.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, all participants. And before I just wind up, do go ahead and respond to the form that we'll be putting up here. We have short-term courses starting the very next on the Saturday, as well as other short-term programs which we are closing very soon. So have a look at it, and if you have queries, please get back to us. Thank you very much, Neeraj Gupta. And I do think we are slightly better informed now, and we will learn to appreciate art more because ultimately that is what we live for, isn't it? To have a
Yeah,
life.
thank yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. I could explain what I was supposed to. That's though the artists are not good in communication, not good in or oratory skills, but
I
somehow
think
I could.
communication of one kind is also fine.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.